Hey there, super friends. It's Joey with Last Point Gaming. Today is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2019. Trying to get back into things. Fair warning, audio quality may be kind of shit. I think I'm going to try to listen to this one before I post it, though. So, if it is kind of shit, it's just may never go up. But I'm going without a mic, and I've switched jobs in this long gap in 2 episodes, which requires me to spend a lot more time on the highway back and forth to work now. So here's hoping. My mic had been giving pretty poor quality there for a while towards the end of my last stint of recording, so hopefully it will be better without the mic. Just angle my HVAC away. So, today's there's been a lot in the Magic community. Sorry, it's still a kind of new drive home. I've been at this place a little over 3 weeks now. I'll try to keep the dead air to a bare minimum, though. So the last couple weeks have been very stirring in the Magic community. I don't really want to talk about the Owen Turnwald situation, and maybe that's a privileged point of view. But I feel like everything there is to say has been said there. But something that did come out of this resurgence, if you're not aware, there's a resurgence in the discussion around Owen Turnwald and his, I'm just going to call it bad behavior, not in an attempt to minimize, but, I mean, really, what else are you going to call it? As he has begun playing high-end competitive Hearthstone now, since he's been kind of ousted from the Magic community, which brought up the topic of shadow bans, which I guess are a thing that I didn't know about. Because I will admit, when everything first went down and news started coming out of why Owen was ripped out of the Mythic Invitational, I checked the DCI suspension list. He never appeared on it. But I guess there is a different kind of type of ban where it's just quietly expressed to you that you are not welcome at organized Magic events, you know, for however long. Which, of course, brought up Matt Sperling posting about Jerry Thompson's shadow ban. Now, if you're new here, you may not know, I am generally not fond of my perception of Matt Sperling. I don't know the guy personally. I don't know Jerry personally. But every time Sperling shows up in my feed, it's a kind of garbage take on something. I don't follow him, so, you know, it is true that I'm probably only seeing the worst, but he does show up in my feed a lot for that to be the case. Also, like, I felt like his actions surrounding people starting GoFundMes to try to raise money to go to MC Barcelona because they won an invite and no travel support. His response was to make himself a GoFundMe, you know, to fly him business class. And apparently, like, it would be one thing if it was a serious, like, okay, we're doing this, and, you know, like, this is cool. I'll throw mine out there. You know, even if he didn't necessarily need the funding, but, like, he made it pretty clear he was doing it to shit on people who, you know, we're just trying to get to a goddamn tournament. So, yeah, I'm not generally a fan of the person I perceive Matt Sperling to be. On the other hand, I am a fan of Jerry Thompson. I have only ever had positive interactions with him, limited as they may be. I got to meet him at the first tournament I went to, like the first large tournament I went to, the Open down in Baltimore. And what's funny is, at that point, I didn't even really know who Jerry was, because I pretty much just followed Tom Ross and Ali Antrazi. And Jerry was hanging out with Tom. I just went through a red light. Fucking trucks. Can't see around them. Anyway. Jerry was hanging out with Tom, and Cats on Mats, I believe, is Tom's, I want to say they're engaged now. Anyway, moving right along. And if you've never met Tom Ross, he's, I feel like when you call a guy shy, it's like taken as an insult, but it's not meant to be. He is a little more introverted than a lot of the pro players you meet. Like, he really comes across as a person who just happens to be, like, really good at Magic and enjoy playing it. Not so much the, like, I want to be adored by the masses at tournaments. So, I ended up chatting with Jerry because I kind of fangirled at Tom, like, super hardcore, in the secret smoking area near the Baltimore Convention Center. Okay, this light's still green. And, like, I ended up chatting with Jerry, and, like, he was just really nice and, like, really encouraging and, like, super excited. I mean, Cats on Mats, very encouraging and excited, too. You know, she was really nice. Tom wasn't by any means rude or impolite or anything like that. He's just a little quieter. But yeah, it was this great experience meeting Jerry Thompson, and actually made this first tournament, like, I don't know, more exciting and memorable. And since then, I've seen Jerry at most of the tournaments I've been to, and granted, it's not very many, and I always, like, smile and wave when I see him, and he always smiles and waves back like he knows me. But, I mean, to assume he would remember me out of the thousands to tens of thousands of people I'm sure he meets on the tournament circuit, when I only run into him every now and again because I only go to a handful of tournaments a year. Like, it's a little ludicrous to assume that he does indeed remember me, but, like, he gives no impression that he doesn't. You know, he's always just a friendly face in the crowd, even though, like, we don't actually know each other. Plus, I enjoy the podcast he does with Brian Gottlieb. I did enjoy him doing commentary. I haven't caught a lot of coverage lately. This new job, they threw a lot of money at me. Turns out when they throw a lot of money at you, they expect a lot from you. So I've had to teach myself some new things that I never worked with before, but they work with here. So far, I seem to be doing okay, though. They seem to be all right with me. Nobody seems to feel that I'm the dumb kid. Even though I feel like I'm the dumb kid because I have to ask people how to do crap all the time because I'm not familiar with their system. But in any case, I guess dumb's not a good word to use there because it actually means can't speak. I guess the stupid kid, the idiotic kid, I don't know what I mean there. Anyway, moving right along. So, you know, I think Jerry's this, you know, great positive person in the community. I was never aware that he had been shadow banned or that there was any reason to. Because I guess I started, you know, becoming cognizant of the, you know, Magic tournament scene after all that. After, you know, he was redeemed and came back. And drawing the parallel like that does kind of cause me to take a step back and think, can there be redemption for Owen? Now, if you've been with me for a very long time, you may remember that back in the earlier days of this, whatever the hell this is, my views on the Magic community were a bit different. And if you really want to know what's made me kind of step back and reassess, see, I joined the gaming community when I was, 14, which was, oh God, I don't even want to, which was over 20 years ago. All right, we'll just leave it at that. And it was a much different ballgame back then, and we have come very far. And I guess seeing where we are now versus where we were back then kind of gave me this feeling that, oh no, we've made a lot of improvements. We have. I can't deny that in any way, but that doesn't mean that there's not room for further improvement. And what really made me take a step back and reassess is my tween daughter playing. And, around the shop, she's just Joey's kid. But, she's starting to want to go to these larger tournaments. We did SCG Philly. Thankfully, Parker was willing to tank his event with us, to team with the two of us. But, hey, we made it to round 6 before we hit our third loss and dropped, which is not too shabby, if I do say so myself. But thinking about, she's going to be 13 here in 2 weeks. And if, as she continues to age through her teenage years, she's still in the Magic community, the thought of, people harassing her, in any manner really just kind of pisses me off. And I guess that's what made me realize that it's more than just, you just need to ignore it. You need to, tell them to go pound sand. When you think about it in the context of somebody else, So in any case, as far as the Owen situation, I guess with the parallel being drawn to Jerry Thompson, now, I have no idea what Jerry did to get shadow banned, what he had been accused of, or anything else. It seems like alcohol was involved, which seems to be a common theme in these issues in the high-end Magic community, and is by no means an excuse for bad behavior. It's just really not. If you're an asshole drunk, you need to observe that, and maybe not get drunk in large groups. Or at all. But with Owen, there's a lot of allegations of, sending shitty messages to people and just say, apparently negging on women to try to get them into bed, I guess, which as some people accept as a valid mating ritual. I don't know. But there are kind of rumors, I guess, of allegations of a physical assault. Now, as far as having to have it explained to you that, as much as when we're told when we're kids that, words can't hurt you and just ignore them and they'll go away, which we all know that's not actually how that goes. Having to explain to somebody that predatory language is in fact scary to people and has a, significant negative impact on them, I guess maybe I can understand somebody needing that explained to them, especially, in a society where we glorify things like 50 Shades of Grey. That whole story was pretty much a glorification of domestic violence. But when you really think about why was it so popular, well, because it was socially acceptable adult entertainment for women. Because women don't have much of that. Women who partake in adult videos online, they have a lot of stigma around them. So you get this really terribly written book series. I mean, it was just awfully written. Yeah, of course I read it. But, let's just get that out there. But it was so badly written. It just aggravated me the whole time, but I'm a completionist and had to finish it. But that's the thing, is, like, it was terribly written. Awful representation of what it was trying to represent. But it was smut that was acceptable for women to partake in. So, when that kind of thing becomes a best-selling national phenomenon, and, you know, we had to make really awful movies of it, too. Those I did not watch. We started one of them. Husband and I had a date night, and we're like, yeah, let's do this. And oh my god, I think 40 minutes into it, we were like, alright, can't handle this anymore. I don't even know what's going on here. It's just boring. Let's put on the Super Troopers and, you know, at least watch something funny. You know, I can understand how men may need to have it explained to them that this is fantasy, that this is, you know, something that women read and maybe swoon a little over, but this is not how they want to be treated in real life. Difference between fantasy and reality. Women also don't want to get kidnapped by pirates, but, you know, there's a fair amount of romantic novels out there about that. So, I can kind of understand that. Having to have it explained to you why forcible intercourse is wrong, nah, sorry, there's just no fucking help for you. I have, like, zero forgiveness in my heart for that kind of shit. Like I said, I can get maybe why you need to explain trying to play the alpha male isn't actually as cool as it's made out to be on TV, books, or movies, or whatever. No, I can't get behind that you thought that this was totally okay and just a man being a man when it comes to a physical assault. Though again, when it comes to the whole Turton Mold situation, I don't know that there's actual allegations against him of that nature. This is all a bunch of rumors and conjecture, and it's really hard to pick out what seems to be valid and what seems to be, there is absolutely nothing to substantiate this. Yeah, that's cool. You can totally be in front of me there, friend. It's alright. So, if we're stopping at harassment, which is still awful behavior that really needs to be stomped out of the community, it just absolutely does. People need to realize that this behavior is unacceptable, and it really doesn't matter what the gender of the target or the aggressor is. Yeah, like I saw a thing going around, you know, some guy from Gen Con, like, you know, you straight boys think that if a gay man hits on you, that makes you gay. Just say thank you, it's because he thinks you're cute. And, like, you know, I'm all about supporting the LGBT community, I really am. But if you're, quote-unquote, flirting or, quote-unquote, hitting on someone is making them uncomfortable, I really don't care what your orientation is. I don't care what the genders of everybody involved are, or gender identity, or any of that. If you're making somebody uncomfortable, you need to stop. Doesn't matter if you think you're entitled to or not. Doesn't matter if you think it's harmless or not. And that's stuff like that's why I really would like to see a shift in focus from, oh, bad behavior towards women needs to stop, to just bad behavior needs to stop. Because it shouldn't be okay for anybody to make anybody uncomfortable, honestly. So, when we do draw this parallel between the two, it did make me take a step back, and I don't think any other example would have made me look at the situation quite as hard as it being, you know, Jerry Thompson, this player that I really admire and respect, like, as a person. So, yeah, generally not a fan of Sperling, but I do try to not assume the worst of his actions, just because it's really easy to, because I'm not a fan of him. And there's definitely a look of, he called this out because he seems to have some personal bad history with Jerry. So as much as the message said something like, oh, I'm glad Jerry got better, one could definitely look at it as, yeah, you're so glad he got better that you want to make sure people don't forget. But at the same time, if you take a step back and think about it, Jerry is probably, I don't know who else has had a shadow ban. I'm unaware of, obviously. But I think the only person more shocking to me to find out that there was a negative history, that there was corrective action taken, would be like Reed Duke. Just because Reed also seems like just one of the nicest people that ever played the game. I got to meet him very briefly. He was doing commentary at the event I was at, where I got to meet him, so I didn't want to, get in his way too long. But, he was really nice. I've tuned into his stream a few times. His stream doesn't really do it for me. Nothing against him, but I don't know. He's not quite as, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't even think of it. I really enjoy, Brad Nelson and Todd Anderson streaming, who, get this faux outrage thing going on, and they get artificially worked up, and it's just kind of a funny thing to watch. But also really good players, so you can watch them play at that, high-focus top end as well. Whereas Reed has just a different sense of humor, I guess, than what, I'm looking for in a stream. And I've said it before, this is a great thing about so many players creating content for the game, is there's something for everybody out there. So, his stream isn't my particular favorite, despite, wanting to support Reed as a player and everything, but his numbers say that it's a favorite to a lot of other people, and that's great. It's like Huey Jensen's another one. I tune into his stream every now and again, because sometimes his dry wit is just what I'm looking for to get me through my day, but he's also very kind of laid back and passive when he's playing, and that's cool. And there are a lot of people that hang out in his stream that that appeals to them, and that's great. So nothing against either of them. I really want to make that clear, that even though they're not my particular favorite streams to watch, it's not because I think there's something wrong with it. I think it's just they have a different approach. They just are, they just have a different approach. Hopefully we'll get back into a rhythm at some point, and I will get better at this again. But anyway, so, don't really want to talk too much about the turret mold thing, because, again, it's all that needs to be said has already been said out there. And there's a lot of, I really don't know what's true and what's, rumors that people are perpetuating. Because I do personally think that equating sexual harassment to sexual assault, these are much different actions, and I can't say that I disagree with expulsion from the community for either one, but I don't think you can, in good faith, compare the two. I think once you start trying to pass them both off as the same thing, you've kind of crossed a line. That's just me. You can feel free to disagree with me and everything. And it seems to me there are a lot of people that, in order to ensure that support is shown for the quote-unquote correct side, that will take, say, a sexual harassment allegation against somebody and pass it off as an assault allegation. And I don't recommend doing this. I just generally don't recommend spreading misinformation, because if you ever get caught, it really weakens your stance. Because if you felt the need to lie about it, then clearly you must not feel that the actual offense is worthy of corrective action. Generally, if a person is worthy of expulsion from the community, it should be the truth of their actions that makes that so. And when you go around spreading lies and misinformation, it just makes it harder for people to believe what's out there. So, I don't know, and I never want to say that I don't believe information out there, but, I remember everything I saw, the allegations against Todd Stevens were harassment-based. When he'd have too much to drink, he'd get grabbed, which is still not fucking cool. It still needs to be dealt with, but now, this far out, you have people who refer to him as a rapist, and, when this was all fresh and new, I never saw anything that suggested that that's why he, got kicked. And I can't imagine SCG would have only given him a 3-year ban from the SCG tour if that were the case. I feel like that is lifetime expulsion. And when you equate these things, it really just creates a whole bad situation. Because again, it's like you're saying that the harassment doesn't matter, or that you feel that so many people will believe that harassment doesn't matter, so you need to drum this up into something more and worse. And ultimately, you're not doing anybody any favors when you do that. And again, you may not agree with that take, and, that's cool. You're always free to disagree with me. You can even reach out to disagree with me, directly. You can email me at lastpointgaming@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on my Twitter at StrangerSparrow. But it's just something that has always rubbed me the wrong way when I see it happen. And I don't know, maybe it's something that you have to experience to really understand the distinction. But anyway, I'm done for today. As always, if you made it this far with me, thank you very much for listening, and hopefully I'll talk to you all tomorrow.